Ay, ay, ha, ay, ay, ha, ha. You see, you'll find a love to go back and listen to that Rihanna and T.I. song. You'll be like, yo, that was a damn good time. Thanks, Mitchell's vs. Machines. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you'll be the first to know. So, Mitchell versus the Machines is a new animated film, feature film from Sony Pictures, who gave it to Netflix, and Netflix is distributing it. And probably due to the COVID protocols and all the COVID stuff, so they're like, look, just go ahead and put this out. Which is sort of a disappointment because I think this film sort of deserved a theatrical run. Doesn't really affect kids' films anyway. They're watching stuff however they watch it, however they consume it, which is sort of the meta ness of this film. But um, this movie is for me a delight, and I wish that it had gotten a full like run in theatrical whatnot. But I think with Netflix, it's somebody's gonna watch it. There's gonna be people watching it. So this film is produced by Lord and Miller and directed by Mike Rianda, and it's a damn delight. I'll give a bit of a preface to all my dads, uncles, grandfathers, and godfathers who are parents or parental figures to daughters. You're gonna get some gut punches in this one, folks. It's gonna hit you. And you're gonna have some tears streaming down your face, and you didn't even know how you got there. Specifically, if you have like a newborn daughter, you're like, oh my god, I don't want to do this to my kid. This movie hits multiple times, and I think it's good for everybody in the family. But I think that is where the emotional cord and the heartstrings tug at is right there. The baseline of this film is about a father and daughter relationship and how over time, as they grow up, they grow apart and get different interests, and the bond that they once had is not nearly as tight as it used to be. And amidst them trying to find their identity apart, but also trying to remember their identity and duo together. I love this family is weird as shit, eccentric. They're fun, um, and I love for me being an actor and a creative. I love that Katie Mitchell is a creative and she digs the YouTube stuff. She comes up with weird things. She is what would be considered to be the oddball, and I love that they made a movie about the oddball, but she is also the oddball to like the world, but also to her family. But what's funny is that she's more an oddball to her family than she is to the world. Cause she finds her clique, her group. She gets into a college that like sort of is like minded of her, and but her family is where she more so her father is where she's considered to be oddball. Her brother gets her weirdness. She even says at the beginning, and her mom is supportive no matter what the hell. She may not understand it all, but she's supportive of it. Her dad, not so much. And I've never had this in my life because my family has always been supportive of everything that I've done creative wise. But I do know that the parts that hit me a lot here is when Katie's coming up with all this stuff, doing all her putting her passion into something that she loves, and she goes to like a young kid like goes to show it to her parents like, hey, look dad, look, this is what I do, and dad has no interest, not he doesn't care about it at all. And it is painful to see somebody who has done what they love get kind of swatted away from someone that they expect or would love to have support from. And I think the dad sort of like they have a bit of a blow up before Katie's last day home to go to college, and the dad's like, "Hey, I got one more time to kind of fix this." So he does something that, and most people would just f it all up. He cancels her flight that she has directly to go to college and says, "Hey, let's pack up the car. I didn't ask you. I didn't tell you. I canceled your flight while you were asleep. I'm gonna take you on a road trip and go across the country." Very problematic on how he handled it, but it leads into some comedy ensuing of them growing as a family, as their as a duo, and just becomes just these oddballs going across the country and learning about themselves now in the current state than they did when they were younger, and everything was a little easier. What's great here is that the animation and choices here feel fresh and new, and use a lot of filters and tech and weird like pop-ups and all that stuff in media, it feels very hyper and energetic, but is fitting for this world and what sort of is happening today anyway with the TikTok and YouTube generation. It uses all of that stuff to sort of come up with this animation style. And I love that Sony, from this into the Spider Verse, are doing sort of different things with their animation so that it doesn't feel as one note as some of the stuff that Disney gives us, specifically Pixar, because they're the ones who's cranking out all the stuff there. But they give us stuff that sort of seems the same, whereas it seems like Sony's sort of thinking out the box. What's crazy is that in the midst of this family road trip, there is a bit of a Terminator 2 Judgment style tech war that transpires. And so this family is going their road trip. Meanwhile, a piece of tech, let's say like Apple, but it's not the name of it, but let's say something like that, they decide to do an upgrade. That upgrade becomes sentient and sort of takes over and just runs havoc. And so this weird little oddball family that is would be considered weird to be everybody else is sort of the only people also that, in addition to fixing their family, must also save the world. And so it becomes this weird National Lampoon. We have to learn about our family slash Incredibles dealing with, instead of a criminal world, dealing with tech. And it's fun because it's a good mix of being meta in the tech world and YouTube world, but also still handling the heartbeat of what a family, and specifically a father and daughter's relationship, needs to be. I didn't get into it too much because it handles it so well, and it's not really the overarching point of the story. But the way that this film handles Katie's sexual identity is so matter of fact and just like, hey, that's who she is and that's what it is, and they're accepting of it. I love it. Kudos to the writers for making that such a simple, matter of fact way, and we kind of just say, yeah, that's what it is. You don't have to make the entire story about that, but you can still acknowledge the fact that that's who she is, and it makes the world feel a lot more encompassing, and it gives a group of people who may not have felt seen before a little bit more of a shine. And I kudos to the writers for that. I love this film. Can't say more about it. I'm gonna recommend this to anybody who's a parent, anybody who wants a good family animated property. This is the one to go with. So on my scale of once is enough, play it again, Sam, or give me a time stone so I never have to think about this again. This is a play it again, Sam. Play it again over and over again. This is probably going to be on one of my lists at the end of the year. We're like, hey, which films are you talking about? Which ones are you still going? This is going to be one that sticks around. If you watch Mitchell vs. the Machines, if not, get on Netflix and go watch it. I'm sure it's trending. It's got to be in the top 10 now. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comments below. Let me know what you guys thought about it. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, here on YouTube. The last episode, we talked about Mortal Kombat, the franchise from start to finish, and this latest film to kind of give you our thoughts of the world of Mortal Kombat as a whole. But like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.